Aloha guys, it's Dr. Tom coming at you once again. Okay, this is a lecture. We're going to cover the PowerPoint for Chapter 1 in Medical Law and Ethics. Okay, so without further ado, man, let's do it. All right, Chapter 1, Big Business, Healthcare, and You. Objectives: recognize importance of business aspect of healthcare industry. Recognize importance of your role on the front lines of the healthcare industry. Identify different types of legal entities. Identify types of managed care delivery systems. Explain benefits of telemedicine. Okay, guys, I've been in healthcare 35 years. That's since I graduated with my doctorate degree. During that time, I practiced 24 years, and I've been teaching college medical subjects in college for 15 years. Some of those I did at the same time. I'm very opinionated about it. I'm sure that comes as a great shock. Okay, introduction to the business of healthcare. In 2015, the healthcare industry accounted for almost 18% of all U.S. goods and services. Now, on the surface, that may not sound like much, guys, but this is what this means. Healthcare, medicine, and all the aspects of it are the biggest business in the United States. They have 18% of the gross national product of the United States. They're the biggest of the biggest. And therein, in my opinion, lies the problem. Healthcare should not be a business like that. And in my opinion, in the opinion of a lot, although there are plenty who disagree, that's the problem, guys. It's run like a business. The United States of America, good old America, is the only industrialized modern nation in the world that does not have universal health care for its citizens. We're the only one. Why? Because everything's about making a buck, man. Okay. Known risks that can result in lawsuit and other unwanted actions. Oh, yeah. We live in a very litigious society now, guys, which means people are looking for reasons to sue. Why? They want money, man. Industry controls healthcare costs with competition regulation. Competition has led governments, and health insurance companies to control escalating costs through regulation, giving rise to managed care organizations. Now, when I got out in the field, I graduated in '86. Within a few months was licensed and was working at a healthcare company. Things were a lot better back then. The managed care business, which was introduced a few years later, where there's health insurance payments are managed, is when everything went to crap. And it wasn't too long after that till people, a few years later, including me, started getting out of the field because they just got tired of dealing with the insurance companies. When they used to pay $100 for something, now they pay $16 for something, that kind of thing. Okay. The front line is you. Yes, the people at the front desk, the medical assistants, and even the billing coding people, the pharmacy technicians and assistants and so forth. Frontline professionals communicate most frequently with the patients. Medical assistants, nurses are with the patients, guys, a lot more than the physicians are. What you know and how you conduct yourself can influence patients' experience. Oh, yeah. You guys are super important. You definitely, for the most part, will spend more time. Now, primarily the CMAs with the patients than the doctors and physicians' assistants and nurse practitioners do. The importance of legal knowledge, 1 and 3, let's see. Understand legal issues to avoid lawsuits and other risks. This is super important, guys. Many, many years ago, not that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but let's say back when I was a kid, you didn't have people suing over every little thing. And that has caused problems. In my opinion, part of the problem is we have attorneys advertising on television, enticing or motivating people to sue. Now, I'm not against lawsuits if they're deserved, you know, because there are mistakes made in medicine. A couple of years ago, well, it's a few more years than that, a big study at Johns Hopkins University demonstrated that medical mistakes were was it the third or fourth? Fourth leading cause. It might have been the third. I should remember that. Leading cause of death in the United States. So yeah, it's awful, but You also have people with frivolous lawsuits, and that costs money to defend. Okay, importance of legal knowledge. Medical office professionals held to a higher standard of care than laypersons, meaning someone that has no training at all. Oh, definitely, yeah. Physicians and nurses are held to a standard of care established by state law, state licensing organizations, registration boards at national and state level. They're all licensed on the state level. Know the scope within which you can practice. Guys, as a CMA, for example, you can only give certain stuff. You can't really give out medical advice. You can't make up your own because you're not a physician level person, so you can't do it. Most medical office employees are not licensed to practice medicine. Well, yeah, none of them are unless they're a doctor. Must carry out responsibilities without making medical decisions or acting outside area of expertise. You have to go along with them, guys. You can't start telling the patient what to do in your opinion. You don't have enough education to have a solid opinion. I don't mean that to be insulting or blunt, but that's the way it's set up. Would you like to be a patient and have somebody that's a CMA that give them advice about what they should do about their cancer treatment and things like that? Yeah. Get in trouble fast for that. Ignorance of a law or regulation is not excuse violation. Remember the old saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse. No laws and regulations that govern the profession. Understand basic principles of law to protect from needless litigation, meaning going to court, loss of reputation, personal wealth, or earning power. You got to be careful, guys. If you do things right, it's not a problem, but you got to do them right. You got to know what the correct methods are. Personal protection. Reasonable standard of care is conducting ourselves in a responsible manner will not cause harm. Okay. Better put than what I just said. Physicians, nurses, and other health care professionals are held to a higher standard of care, as they darn well should be. Yes. Violations can lead to medical malpractice lawsuits, certificate or license revocations, or criminal charges in extreme cases. As they should be, guys, if they're warranted. Absolutely. For medical assistance, required standard of care is difficult to predict. The bottom line, guys, you can't start acting like a doctor and start giving out advice and things. However, it's vital that you do discuss things with the patient, but you need to discuss what the doctor says and not what your preacher told you or your opinion is on something or something you saw on social media or some other cockamamie nonsense. No offense about the preacher part, but it's just we're in tough times right now with this vaccine, and I have a real problem with these anti-vaxxers, and some of them are men of the cloth. Personal protection. Medical office professionals are linked between the patient and the physician. Absolutely. Positive patient interactions minimize non-medical, non-legal variables. May prevent legitimate complaint from developing to a lawsuit. Guys, it's been studied, it's been demonstrated. The doctors who are sued the most often are the ones that are jerks. The ones who are kind and professional and apologetic if there needs to be an apology, and personable, they don't get sued as often as some arrogant, stuck-up. It's a known fact. And the same goes with the staff, too. And over the years, I've been in offices where there was a terrible atmosphere, and the MAs and all were part of it too, walking around. Patients trust that they're being treated by a qualified healthcare professional. State licensure laws define education and experience required to perform certain procedures. Now, CMAs are not licensed, but doctors and nurses and others are. A license indicates the holder has basic minimum qualification required by the state for the occupation. Privacy and confidentiality have ethical and legal basis. Oh, absolutely, guys. Requirements of privacy and respect for confidentiality must be met. A lot of things have changed over the years, but HIPAA, and we're going to mention that in a moment. It's on another slide. There's been a lot of changes in privacy, as there should be, guys. A person's health care and health records and all is personal, and it does need to be private. No one who doesn't need that information has a right to it. Nowadays, for example, if let's say let's say your spouse went to the doctor. You can't just call up and say, hey, so-and-so was over there. I want to know what was wrong with them. Did they have a STD? You can't do that. They unless the patient, what they do when the patient first becomes a new patient in the office, they sign a form to give permission to tell their spouse or whoever, if they want to, what's going on. If not, they can't tell them, even their own spouse. In hospitals, you can't just ring up and say, hey, I want to know what's going on with that Joe there, did you get that circumcision? No, man, no. They actually give you a code. And if you don't know the code, you can't talk to the patient. And that's the way it should be, guys. So there's a lot of things have changed over the years. You absolutely have to respect this confidentiality. You can get in lots of trouble. You go in, you're working with a patient, and they ask you, hey, I saw so-and-so next door there. What's wrong with them? What kind of problems they? You can't even go there, man. You have to change the sign-in sheet at the front where you can't even see who signed in before you. HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Federal law requires every health plan and provider maintain reasonable, appropriate safeguards to ensure healthcare confidentiality. Yeah. A person's healthcare stuff is confidential. No one needs to know it unless they have a reason to. Now, for example, let's say you work at a primary care office and somebody has to be sent to a cardiologist. Then naturally the cardiologist will have access to your records, of course. But just because some dude down the street wants to know, or because you left a file sitting around and somebody was sitting there waiting on the doctor and they found it and started going through it, oh, that's a big screw up. Patient's Bill of Rights. They convey patients' legal and ethical rights, include acknowledgement of patients' right to choose treatment, to consent to treatment, and to refuse treatment, not always required by law, establishes standards, including ethical standards for patient care. Many years ago, guys, they used to treat people like dirt. A lot of things have changed, and as far as this is concerned, changed for the better, because now they have a Bill of Rights and they have to be treated fairly and decently and have things explained to them. Some rights that may be included: to be treated with courtesy and respect, an environment free from discrimination, to be treated confidentially, with access to your records limited to those involved in your care and otherwise authorized by you, to be informed by your healthcare provider about your diagnosis, schedule, course of treatment, alternative treatment, risk, and prognosis. I'm trying to hurry along and finish. I only have 15 minutes on this tape. To refuse medical treatment, even if your physician recommends it, the patient has a right to, if they're an adult. To be informed about the outcome of care, treatment, and services that have been provided, including possibly unanticipated outcomes. To be informed if medical treatment is for experimental research, and to give your consent to refuse to participate. Respondeat superior. Physicians and corporate employees are liable for their own conduct. Physicians and corporate employees are vicariously liable for their employees' conduct while working within the scope of employment. So as you, as an MA, screw up and injure a patient, the doctor can get in trouble for it. I imagine it wouldn't go too well for you either. Okay, business structure. Business is a commercial industrial establishment. You need to know these. It's on the exam. Sole proprietorship is a single physician, therapist, or other licensed healthcare professional. Partnership, two or more people who combine their work, money, and talents. Like a lot of doctors' offices now are partnerships. Corporation, group of people band together and create an artificial being or entity, which is the corporation. Healthcare delivery compensation. Let's see, health HMOs, prepaid group practice, and individual practice associations. They suck, in my opinion. This is what brought everything down. It was a way to, at first, when they brought all this out back in the 90s, I'm going to have to hurry, guys. Let's see. PPOs are better. Associate providers, kind of employees. I don't want to have to start a whole new. Managed care. Those are both managed care, by the way. Terms describe system of integration of financing, deliver healthcare system to provide comprehensive services to identified segment of the population. Here's types: HMOs, PPOs. PPOs are the best. Telemedicine, big. A lot of stuff can be done now over Skype, and they're doing more of it. And I think they should. It's great. There's a lot of things that a doctor can do over just like I'm talking here. Okay, we're about out of time. This is going to be the trend of the future. You're going to see a lot more of it. I think it's great for what it can do. Dr. Thomas signing off. Hang in there. We'll see you next time, man.